stole the pass away from Mike Sanders. Battle, Dominique, three-point try. Bullseye!
The 1990s were dominated by Michael Jordan and the Bulls, but behind the GOAT's shadow were legends, players who changed the game but didn't always get the love they deserve. Today we're counting down 10 of the most underrated NBA players of the 90s. Superstars who were unstoppable but somehow still underrated. Let's get into it. Before Kyrie, before Iverson, there was Tim Hardaway, the true king of the crossover. His legendary UTEP two-step wasn't just flashy, it was lethal. Defenders had no chance. And today we're breaking down 3 of his nastiest crossover highlights. In that game, Hardaway dropped 38 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds, leading the Heat to a 101-90 victory and helping Miami reach the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in franchise history. His clutch shooting and signature UTEP two-step crossover gave the Knicks defenders problems all game long. Next up, we've got one of the greatest point guards of all time, John Stockton, but even elite defenders couldn't stop Hardaway's handles. With a quick UTEP two-step, Hardaway had Stockton frozen, blowing past him like he wasn't even there. Talk about embarrassing. Last but not least, Hardaway showed no mercy, even to his former Warriors teammate Latrell Sprewell. This time, as a member of the Miami Heat, he put Spree on skates, stepped back, and drilled the jumper right in his face. That's cold-blooded. Hardaway's crossover wasn't just flashy, it set up his entire offensive game, making him a lethal playmaker and scorer. Tim Hardaway paved the way for the crossover kings of today. Without him, there's no Iverson, no Kyrie, no Curry with the step backs. Clyde Drexler was one of the most electrifying players in NBA history. Known for his smooth, effortless style, he earned the nickname The Glide for his ability to soar through the air with grace. A 10-time All-Star and NBA champion, Drexler was a dominant scorer, elite playmaker, and a relentless finisher at the rim. Whether attacking in transition or throwing down thunderous dunks, he was a nightmare for defenders. He led the Portland Trail Blazers to 2 NBA Finals appearances and later won a championship with the Houston Rockets in 1995. Drexler's combination of speed, athleticism, and all-around skill made him one of the greatest shooting guards of all time. Drexler took it straight to the heart of the Bulls' defense and baptized Bill Cartwright with a ferocious dunk. Even against Michael Jordan's squad, the Glide had no fear. After years of chasing a ring, Drexler finally got his moment. Teaming up with Hakeem Olajuwon, he delivered clutch performances in the '95 Finals, helping the Rockets sweep the Magic and claim his first NBA championship. On the biggest stage, Drexler showed why he was the Glide. With his signature fast break dunk, he left the crowd in awe during the '92 All-Star Game, proving he was one of the league's most exciting high flyers. Clyde Drexler's impact on the game lives on as one of the most well-rounded and dynamic shooting guards in NBA history. Scottie Pippen wasn't just Michael Jordan's sidekick, he was one of the most complete players in NBA history. A 6-time NBA champion, 7-time All-Star, and one of the greatest defenders the game has ever seen, Pippen could do it all: score, pass, rebound, and lock down the opposing team's best player. His versatility, athleticism, and basketball IQ made him the perfect complement to Jordan, and when MJ retired, Pippen proved he could lead a team on his own. Now, let's break down 3 of Pippen's greatest highlights, moments that cemented his legacy as one of the all-time greats. If you talk about disrespectful dunks, this one is right at the top. In the 1994 playoffs against the Knicks, Pippen drove the lane and absolutely posterized Patrick Ewing, one of the best shot blockers ever. And as if that wasn't enough, Pippen stood over him and talked trash while Ewing hit the floor. Then he went over and shoved Spike Lee for good measure. Pure savagery. Michael Jordan was the Finals MVP in '91, but the real game changer, Scottie Pippen. After the Bulls lost Game 1, Phil Jackson made a crucial adjustment, putting Pippen on Magic Johnson. The result? Magic struggled and the Bulls dominated. Pippen's defense was suffocating. He hounded Magic for 94 feet, disrupted the Lakers' offense, and set the tone for the Bulls' first championship run. This is why Pippen was one of the greatest defenders in NBA history. With Michael Jordan retired, many doubted if Pippen could be the guy. Well, he answered loud and clear in the 1994 All-Star Game. He dropped 29 points, grabbed 11 rebounds, and played lockdown defense, earning All-Star MVP honors. This wasn't just an exhibition. Pippen was making a statement. I'm more than just Jordan's teammate. I'm a superstar. And that season, he led the Bulls to 55 wins without MJ, proving his greatness. Pippen wasn't just one of the best sidekicks ever, he was an all-time great in his own right, a lockdown defender, an offensive weapon, and a 6-time champion. No Scottie, no Bulls dynasty. It's that simple. Before flashy ball handlers and scoring point guards became the norm, Isiah Thomas set the standard, a 12-time All-Star, 2-time NBA champion, and the heart of the bad boy Detroit Pistons. Thomas was the perfect blend of skill, leadership, and toughness. At just 6'1", he dominated bigger defenders with his elite handles, mid-range jumper, and fearless drives to the rim. Whether he was orchestrating plays, taking over in crunch time, or setting up teammates, Thomas was the ultimate floor general. His legacy, leading the Pistons to back-to-back championships 1989 and 1990, and proving that skill and heart could outshine size. Playing on a severely sprained ankle, Thomas erupted for 25 points in the third quarter of Game 6 against the Lakers. He limped, he grimaced, but he couldn't be stopped. It's one of the greatest single-quarter performances in NBA Finals history. Thomas showed unreal toughness and skill, nearly carrying the Pistons to a championship despite his injury. With the game on the line, Thomas pulled off a ridiculous no-look over-the-shoulder jumper to sink the Knicks. In a tight playoff battle, his clutch genes shined. Thomas had a knack for big moments, and this shot proved he could deliver under pressure with style. In a key moment of the 1989 NBA Finals against the Lakers, Thomas picked off a pass and threw a full-court dime to Bill Laimbeer for an easy bucket. This play was peak Isiah Thomas, defensive instincts, IQ, and elite passing all in one. The Pistons went on to sweep the Lakers and win their first ever championship. Isiah Thomas wasn't just great, he was one of the toughest, most skilled point guards the game has ever seen. 2 rings, countless clutch moments, a legacy that still inspires today's stars. Dominique Wilkins wasn't just a basketball player, he was a walking, flying, rim-rattling spectacle. Known as the human highlight film, Wilkins electrified the NBA in the 80s and 90s with his jaw-dropping dunks, acrobatic finishes, and relentless scoring ability. Playing the majority of his career with the Atlanta Hawks, he became one of the greatest scorers and dunkers the game has ever seen. A 9-time NBA All-Star, Wilkins was more than just a dunker. He had a lethal mid-range game, quick first step, and a competitive fire that led to legendary battles. Let's break down 3 of his greatest highlights. One of the greatest dunk contests of all time. In 1988, Wilkins faced off against Michael Jordan in an all-time classic showdown. Wilkins threw down powerful windmills and two-handed jams, but Jordan's iconic free throw line dunk edged him out in the final round. Many still believe Wilkins should have won that contest. What do you think? One of the greatest playoff battles ever. In Game 7 of the 1988 Eastern Conference semifinals, Wilkins went head-to-head with Larry Bird, putting up an insane 47 points on the Celtics in a legendary duel. Wilkins was unstoppable, but Bird answered back with 34 points, including clutch shots down the stretch to give the Celtics the win. Despite the loss, this game cemented Wilkins as one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. From the moment he entered the league, Wilkins made it clear no one was safe. In his rookie year, he threw down one of the most vicious dunks ever over Hall of Famer Bob Lanier, announcing his arrival in a big way. Lanier was a legend, but Wilkins turned him into a poster that day. This dunk set the tone for the rest of his career. Dominique Wilkins wasn't just a scorer, he was a show. His dominance, electrifying style, and insane dunking ability made him one of the most exciting players in NBA history. Shawn Kemp was one of the most explosive and electrifying power forwards in NBA history. Known as the Rain Man, Kemp dominated the 90s with his incredible athleticism, thunderous dunks, and high-energy play. Playing most notably for the Seattle Supersonics, he formed a legendary duo with Gary Payton, thrilling fans with fast-break alley-oops and rim-rattling slams. A six-time NBA All-Star, Kemp was more than just a dunker. He had a solid mid-range game, rebounded with authority, and played above-the-rim defense. His impact on the game paved the way for the next generation of high-flying big men. One of the most disrespectful dunks in NBA history, Kemp caught a pass, took one dribble, and soared over Alton Lister, hammering down a vicious slam. But the icing on the cake, Kemp pointed at Lister on the ground, solidifying this dunk as an all-time classic. Going up against Michael Jordan's legendary Bulls, Kemp wasn't intimidated. In Game 4 of the 1996 NBA Finals, he threw down a powerful one-handed dunk over Dennis Rodman, proving he could shine on the biggest stage. One of the craziest alley-oop sequences ever, Kemp and Gary Payton pulled off a double alley-oop where Payton threw it up, Kemp caught it, then passed it in the air before catching it again and slamming it home. Pure showtime. Shawn Kemp was a force of nature, combining size, speed, and skill like few others before him. His highlight reels still hold up today, inspiring modern dunkers like Zion Williamson and Giannis Antetokounmpo. David Robinson, aka the Admiral, was one of the most dominant centers in NBA history. A two-time NBA champion, league MVP, and 10-time All-Star, Robinson combined elite athleticism, defense, and scoring to become a force on both ends of the floor. As the anchor of the San Antonio Spurs, he was a nightmare for opponents, dominating with shot blocking, rebounding, and smooth post moves. Beyond his individual brilliance, Robinson's leadership paved the way for the Spurs dynasty, mentoring Tim Duncan and setting the foundation for San Antonio's sustained success. In the final game of the 1993-94 season, Robinson needed a monster performance to surpass Shaquille O'Neal for the scoring title, and he delivered. The Admiral torched the Clippers for 71 points, securing his place in history. It was one of the most dominant scoring displays ever by a big man. A triple-double is impressive, but how about a quadruple-double? On February 17, 1994, Robinson filled the stat sheet with 34 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and 10 blocks against the Detroit Pistons. It was a masterpiece of all-around dominance that only a handful of players have ever achieved. Robinson had already accomplished almost everything in the NBA, but one thing was missing: a championship. In 1999, alongside rising superstar Tim Duncan, Robinson helped lead the Spurs to their first ever NBA title, cementing his legacy as one of the greatest big men of all time. David Robinson wasn't just an incredible player, he was a role model, a leader, and a key figure in one of the greatest franchises in NBA history. His influence stretched beyond basketball, inspiring countless players with his work ethic, discipline, and sportsmanship.
The San Antonio Spurs have won their first NBA championship.
Karl Malone, known as the Mailman, delivered buckets and dominance night after night. As one of the greatest power forwards in NBA history, he combined size, strength, and skill to rack up 36,928 career points, the second most in NBA history at the time of his retirement. Teaming up with John Stockton in Utah, he became a pick-and-roll nightmare, earning 2 MVP awards and leading the Jazz to multiple deep playoff runs. Going up against the bad boy himself, Malone took a pass, bulldozed through the lane, and threw down a vicious dunk over Dennis Rodman. It was a statement play. The Mailman wasn't backing down from anyone, not even the Bulls' legendary defense. This dunk symbolized Malone's physical dominance and intensity in one of the biggest moments of his career. With the game on the line, Malone caught the ball in the mid-range, sized up his defender, and hit a cold-blooded turnaround jumper to seal the win. This clutch shot sent the Jazz to their second straight NBA Finals, proving Malone wasn't just a scorer, he was a big-time performer when it mattered most. Malone went nuclear, dropping 61 points and grabbing 18 rebounds in one of the most dominant performances ever by a power forward. He did it all: post moves, jumpers, fast break dunks on just 33 shots, scoring 60 plus as a big man in the era of tough defense. Legendary. This game cemented Malone as one of the most unstoppable scorers in NBA history, with 14 All-Star selections, 2 MVPs, and over 36,000 points. Malone's dominance is undeniable. His partnership with Stockton created one of the NBA's greatest duos, and his physicality set the standard for future power forwards. Charles Barkley wasn't just one of the greatest power forwards of all time, he was a force of nature. Standing at just 6'6", Barkley dominated the paint against bigger opponents with his unmatched strength, rebounding ability, and fierce competitiveness. Known as the round mound of rebound, he combined power, agility, and skill in a way that revolutionized the position. A 1993 NBA MVP, an 11-time All-Star, and a Hall of Famer, Barkley left an unforgettable mark on the game with his relentless energy and trash-talking charisma. Now, let's relive 3 of Sir Charles's greatest NBA highlights. Going up against a young Shaquille O'Neal, no problem for Sir Charles. In a 1993 matchup, Barkley took it straight to the rim and threw down a ferocious dunk over the Diesel, sending a message that he wasn't backing down from anyone. Not many players could body Shaq like that. Barkley was built different. Most power forwards stay in the paint, but Barkley, he played like a freight train. In the 1994 playoffs, he grabbed a rebound, dribbled full speed down the court, and threw down a coast-to-coast dunk, showing why he was one of the most versatile big men ever. A 6'6" power forward moving like a guard? Unreal. Barkley wasn't just a bruiser, he could light up the scoreboard too. In Game 3 of the 1994 first round against Golden State, he went absolutely nuclear, dropping 56 points, one of the greatest playoff performances in NBA history. He was unstoppable that night, inside, outside, and everywhere in between, pure dominance. From rim-rattling dunks to dominant playoff performances, Charles Barkley was an unstoppable force. He may not have won a ring, but his impact on the game is undeniable. Hakeem Olajuwon, known as The Dream, was one of the most dominant and skilled big men in NBA history. Standing at 7 feet tall, Olajuwon revolutionized the center position with his elite footwork, shot blocking, and scoring ability. He was a 2-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP, and the 1994 NBA MVP. His signature move, the Dream Shake, left defenders helpless, making him one of the most unguardable players of all time. David Robinson had just won the MVP in 1995, but Hakeem took it personally. In Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals, Olajuwon put on a clinic, unleashing a series of dream shakes that left Robinson spinning in circles. With the Rockets down 3-2 in the NBA Finals, the Knicks had a chance to win the title in Game 6. With seconds left, John Starks pulled up for a potential game-winning 3, but Hakeem had other plans. In the 1995 NBA Finals, a young Shaquille O'Neal was supposed to be the next dominant center, but Hakeem showed him who the real king was. In Game 3, Olajuwon spun past Shaq, missed a layup, but immediately slammed home his own rebound in one motion. Hakeem Olajuwon's legendary footwork, defense, and clutch moments cemented his place as one of the greatest centers of all time. He is the only player to ever win MVP, Finals MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season, 1994. These legends changed the game, yet they were never fully appreciated. Who do you think was the most underrated? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more NBA Legends stories and highlights.